Reagan Reverd and McKenna Grace's reunion highlights how unsupported Missy was on the heels of George's death in young Sheldon. During Missy's darkest times, Paige could have appeared to offer her support, which would have been a better final appearance for Grace in the show. Paige could have helped Missy process grief in young Sheldon, especially since George and Mary's only daughter didn't have a support system that she could turn to. Months after young Sheldon ended, Missy and Paige actors, Reagan Reverd and McKenna Grace reunites, effectively highlighting one of the most heartbreaking aspects of George's death. Despite contradicting the canon countless times in its run, the prequel finally decided to stick to the bigger points of the established continuity when George died of a heart attack. This became the launching pad for the special one-hour Young Sheldon finale, with its first half devoted to the Coopers coming to terms with the tragedy. Everyone coped with the matter differently, as they grappled to move forward following the massive loss. Aside from following what was the Big Bang Theory canon, George's death and funeral also allowed the writers to bring back many familiar faces for the last time. Beloved supporting characters including Reba McEntire's June Ballard rallied the family as they dealt with the unimaginable turn of events. Despite this, young Sheldon wasn't able to bring back all of the show's prominent role players. Paige's absence in its final season was particularly problematic as it left her fate in limbo. Besides that, Grace's recent reunion with Reverd emphasizes one other aspect the prequel missed by not bringing her back. George's funeral is arguably the Big Bang Theory franchise's best episode. It is a masterclass in balancing comedy and drama, something that the show tried to perfect for years. The outing has been dissected multiple times, but one thing that is often overlooked is how unsupported Missy was during that time. Mary had Meemaw, who had Dale. Georgie sought strength from his new family, while Sheldon, despite trying to ignore it, got sympathies from Dr. Sturgis and Dr. Linkletter. Missy didn't have anyone to rely on, hence why she resorted to lashing out at almost everybody. Much has been said about young Sheldon's underutilization of Reverd's character. While Missy was barely in the Big Bang Theory, she became one of the most dynamic characters in the prequel. Unfortunately, while her family members' stories evolved, hers didn't. Missy's last compelling arc was her rebellious stint in Season 6, where she and Paige attempted to drive to Florida. Young Sheldon didn't fully flesh out their friendship, but they had a deep bond, in a way that they oddly understand each other's issues. Missy could have relied on Paige as she dealt with her grief over losing George. Seeing Reverd and Grace continue their off-screen friendship is a reminder of their characters' relationship in young Sheldon, something that the CBS show could have devoted more time to over the years. Despite the limited screen time left, the finale could have done a brief scene with Paige coming to visit Missy after the death of George. From there, they could have had a poignant conversation about their respective struggles in their early years. Considering Missy's support during Paige's darkest moments, this could have been her way of reciprocating that very kind gesture. The buzz surrounding the Young Sheldon set was palpable as the actors who played Paige and Missy Cooper gathered for a highly anticipated reunion event. Their appearance wasn't just a nostalgic trip down memory lane, but a poignant exploration of the series' deeper emotional currents. In the intimate setting of a live panel discussion, the atmosphere was charged with an electric mix of nostalgia and raw emotion. The discussion began with light-hearted reminiscing about their favorite moments on the show, Paige's memorable debates with Sheldon and Missy's clever quips that often provided comic relief. However, as the conversation shifted to more profound topics, the mood grew more reflective. Missy's actress, known for her sharp wit and emotional depth, spoke first. When George died, she said, her voice steady but filled with a subtle tremor, it wasn't just a plot point. It was a seismic shift in our characters' lives and the dynamics of the show. It wasn't about shock value. It was about real, human consequences. The panel moderator nodded, understanding the gravity of her words. Can you share how this event influenced your portrayal of Missy? Missy's actress took a deep breath. Absolutely. The death of George wasn't just about losing a father or a character. It was about Missy losing a part of her foundation. She had this complex relationship with him, often at odds but deeply connected. His absence was felt in every moment afterward, and it was crucial for me to convey that sense of loss and disorientation. Paige's actress chimed in, highlighting a different but equally significant perspective. For Paige, George's death wasn't as immediate but was an underlying current throughout her development. She was always this intellectual beacon for Sheldon, but with George gone, there was this void, an absence of that typical family stability she might have relied on, indirectly influencing her character's journey. The moderator posed a thoughtful question to both actresses. How did the show's writers approach the aftermath of George's death in terms of your characters' arcs? Missy's actress responded, the writers were incredibly thoughtful about this. They understood that George's death was a catalyst for profound change, not just for Sheldon but for everyone around him. For Missy, it meant stepping up in ways she never had before, facing the reality of her own grief, and reconciling with her brother's struggles. Paige's actress added, for Paige, it was about the emotional distance that started to grow. Sheldon's internal world became more intense, and Paige's interactions with him reflected that growing complexity. The show depicted how grief and loss could fracture even the closest relationships, making Paige's role even more crucial in providing a counterbalance to Sheldon's spiraling emotions. The conversation then turned to fan reactions and how the death of George resonated with the audience. The moderator asked, how did viewers react to this storyline, and what feedback did you receive from them? Paige's actress smiled wistfully. The feedback was overwhelming. Many fans expressed how deeply the storyline affected them, resonating with their personal experiences of loss. It wasn't just a story about a character's death, it was about real human experiences, and I think that's what struck a chord. Missy's actress agreed, adding, the outpouring of messages we received from viewers was both touching and humbling. It showed that the show had tapped into something profoundly human, and that made the whole experience worthwhile. Despite the challenges of portraying such a heavy topic, knowing it had a meaningful impact on viewers made it all the more significant. As the panel discussion drew to a close, the actors reflected on how their characters evolved in the wake of George's death. The moderator concluded with a final question. Looking back, what do you think the death of George taught your characters, and perhaps even yourselves?